There is a version of you that has been quietly dying for years, and you have been calling it spiritual growth, not because you are failing, not because you are broken, but because the part of you that is trying to awaken may be the very thing that must disappear. This is the truth. Almost no one tells you about awakening. It does not always feel like light entering the room. Sometimes it feels like the room itself was never real. Sometimes it feels like the person you spent your whole life defending was only a mask trained to survive inside a world of mirrors. You think you are searching for awakening, but what if awakening begins the moment you stop trusting the one who is searching? Look at your life carefully. Before you speak, something inside you chooses the safest version of your voice. Before you act, something calculates how you will be seen. Before you rest, something whispers that you have not earned peace yet. This voice wears your name, speaks in your tone, and borrows your memories, but that does not mean it is you. It may only be the echo of every fear, every rejection, every command, and every invisible rule you accepted before you were old enough to question reality. And by the end of this video, you will not simply understand awakening as an idea. You will see the hidden mechanism that keeps people spiritually asleep even while they believe they are waking up. You will see why the ego can turn healing into performance, why pain can become an identity, why silence feels threatening to the false self, and why the truth you are looking for may not be found by becoming more enlightened, but by seeing that the one trying to become enlightened was never the deepest part of you. So do not ask yet whether you are awake. Ask this instead: who inside you is afraid of disappearing if you stop pretending? There is a moment in every awakening when the seeker realizes the door was never locked. Not because the world suddenly becomes easy, not because the sky opens and every wound in the body becomes light, but because something far stranger happens. The person who was desperately searching for a key begins to suspect that the prison was built out of belief, memory, fear, and inherited language. The bars were not made of iron. They were made of thoughts repeated so often, they became reality. The walls were not placed around you by the universe. They were accepted by you, one silent agreement at a time. And this is where the truth about awakening becomes dangerous, because most people imagine awakening as an achievement. They picture it as a mountain peak, a final level, a spiritual promotion into some glowing version of themselves. They think, one day I will awaken, one day I will become enlightened, one day I will be pure enough, healed enough, wise enough, chosen enough. But what if that idea is the final disguise of the sleep itself? What if the one trying to awaken is the very illusion that keeps you dreaming? What if awakening is not something you become, but something you stop pretending you are not? This video is not about adding more spiritual decorations to the same old identity. It is not about collecting mystical words, memorizing sacred symbols, or calling every emotion a message from the universe. Those things can be beautiful, but they can also become golden chains. A cage does not become freedom simply because the bars are painted with stars. The deeper truth is quieter, sharper, and more intimate. Awakening does not begin when you escape the world. It begins when you finally see the invisible agreement you made with the false self who has been living your life on your behalf. Maybe you have felt it already. A room full of people is laughing, but something in you is watching from a distance. A goal you chased for years finally comes closer, yet it no longer feels holy. A relationship, a job, a habit, an identity that once seemed solid begins to look like a costume left over from a previous version of your life. You do not know exactly what is happening. You only know that the old explanations are no longer strong enough. The map you inherited no longer matches the territory inside you. And here is the promise of this journey. You will not be handed another belief system to worship. You will be invited to notice the machinery beneath belief itself. You will begin to see why the ego turns spirituality into another performance, why suffering often protects the identity that claims it wants freedom, why silence can reveal more than thought, and why the truth you are seeking may not be hidden far away in some secret temple, but buried beneath the noise of the person you think you have to be. Because the greatest secret about awakening is not that you become something divine, it is that the divine was never absent. It was only misnamed, covered, and exiled into the background of your own awareness. Like the sun behind a storm, it did not vanish when the clouds gathered. Like the ocean beneath waves, it did not disappear because the surface became restless. You were taught to identify with the weather, so you forgot the sky, core themes and concepts. The first theme at the center of awakening is not light, but disillusionment. This may sound disappointing at first, because the sleeping mind wants fireworks, visions, proof, and cosmic applause. It wants awakening to feel like being chosen by the universe, crowned by invisible hands, lifted above ordinary people into a higher category of existence. But real awakening often begins in a far more uncomfortable place. It begins when something you once trusted starts to crack. Not the world itself, but your interpretation of it. Not your life, but the identity you built to survive your life. It begins when you look at the thoughts moving through your mind and realize they are not all truth. Some are echoes, some are inheritances, some are wounds wearing the costume of wisdom, some are fears pretending to protect you while quietly building the cage tighter. This is the first pillar. You are not everything that appears within you. A thought appears, but you are aware of it. An emotion rises, but you can witness it. A fear speaks, but something deeper hears it. This difference is subtle, but it is the doorway. The sleeping person says, "I am angry." The awakening person begins to see, anger is moving through the field of my awareness. The sleeping person says, "I am broken." The awakening person sees, a story of brokenness has been repeated inside me for years. This does not make pain fake. It makes identity less absolute. Pain is real, as weather is real, but you are not the storm. You are the sky, in which the storm is temporarily appearing, and once this begins to reveal itself, a second theme emerges. The ego does not only resist awakening through darkness, it also resists awakening through spirituality. This is where many seekers get trapped without realizing it. The ego is intelligent. It can wear old clothes or sacred robes. It can say, "I am better than others because I have money," and it can also say, "I am better than others because I understand energy, signs, vibration, ancient wisdom, and hidden knowledge. The costume changes, but the hunger remains the same. The false self does not care whether it is praised as successful or enlightened. It only cares that it remains at the center. This is where awakening becomes more dangerous than belief. A belief can comfort the ego. A doctrine can decorate it. A spiritual identity can make it feel rare, chosen, and superior. But direct seeing threatens the ego because direct seeing does not give it a new costume. It exposes the actor beneath every costume. This is why the false self would rather collect sacred knowledge than become silent enough to be seen. It would rather discuss consciousness than surrender control. It would rather talk about illusion than admit where it is still lying. And this is the difference between information and transformation. Information adds something to the mind. Transformation removes something from the mask. Information says, "Now I know more." Transformation says, "Now I can no longer pretend." Most people do not fear ignorance as much as they fear the end of their favorite illusion. They fear the moment when the story that protected them becomes too small to live inside. They fear the silence after blame. They fear the emptiness after the wound is no longer worshipped. They fear the question that remains when every excuse falls away. If I am not my pain, not my thoughts, not my image, not my history, then what has been looking through my eyes all this time? This is the center of the entire path. Awakening is not self-improvement. Self-improvement can make the dream more comfortable. Awakening is dehypnosis. It is the slow, sometimes brutal, sometimes beautiful withdrawal of belief from everything false inside you. It does not ask you to destroy the ego with hatred. Hatred is only the ego wearing another mask. It asks you to see so clearly that the false no longer receives your unconscious devotion. A third theme is that reality, as you experience it, is not only what happens, it is also the meaning you place upon what happens. Two people can stand under the same storm and live in two different universes. One sees punishment, one sees cleansing, one sees delay, one sees protection, one sees abandonment, one sees initiation. The outer event may be shared, but the inner architecture shapes the world that each person inhabits. This is not a shallow statement that your thoughts magically control everything. It is deeper and more precise than that. Your consciousness is the lens through which reality becomes personal. If the lens is covered in fear, even opportunity looks like danger. If the lens is covered in unhealed rejection, even silence looks like betrayal. If the lens is covered in old shame, even love feels suspicious. This is why the awakened path is not about forcing the universe to obey your desires. It is about purifying perception. It is about seeing clearly enough that you stop confusing the past with the present. You stop meeting new people with old wounds. You stop treating every closed door as proof that you are unwanted. You stop treating every uncomfortable emotion as a command to run. Slowly, reality becomes less distorted by the fingerprints of the old self. And when the lens clears, you may discover something shocking. Life was speaking more accurately than you were listening. But there is another layer, and this one is often avoided. because it threatens the deepest addiction of all, the addiction to being the main character of your suffering. The ego does not only love pleasure, it also loves a familiar wound. A wound can become a throne. A grievance can become a religion. A story of betrayal can become a kingdom where the self remains justified forever. And because suffering can attract sympathy, meaning, and identity, the mind may unconsciously protect the very pain it claims it wants to escape. This is not a moral failure, it is a survival pattern. But awakening begins to ask, with terrifying compassion, who would I be without this wound as my name? That question can shake the inner world more than any mystical vision, because many people do not fear healing itself. They fear the emptiness that might appear if the story is gone. They fear losing the explanation they have used to organize their life. They fear that without their resentment, their anger, their superiority, their sadness, or their secret victimhood, there will be nothing left. But this is the illusion. What disappears is not your essence. What disappears is the costume pain designed for you. Beneath it, there is not nothing. There is presence. There is clarity. There is the quiet intelligence of life before it was named by injury. Imagine a man living in a house with no windows, only mirrors. From the moment he was born, every wall reflected him back to himself. When he smiled, the house smiled. When he was afraid, the house trembled with his fear. When he felt rejected, every mirror seemed to prove that rejection was written into his face. Over time, he stopped asking whether the mirrors were accurate. He stopped wondering if anything existed beyond them. He simply accepted that reality was the endless repetition of his own reflection. And because the house answered him so quickly, he mistook reflection for truth. One day, a crack appeared in the largest mirror. At first, he panicked. He thought the world was breaking. He reached for cloth, glue, anything that could restore the smooth surface. But through the crack, he saw something impossible, a line of golden dawn beyond the wall. Not another reflection, not another version of his own face, something alive, moving without his permission. Wind passing through tall grass, a sky that did not ask him who he thought he was. For the first time, the man realized he had never seen the world. He had only seen himself, repeated by the walls of his own conditioning. This is one symbolic face of awakening. The mirrors are not evil. They are the mind's interpretations, memories, wounds, desires, and fears. They show you something, but not everything. They give shape to experience, but they do not contain the whole of reality. Many people spend their entire lives polishing mirrors. They improve the image. They decorate the identity. They become more successful, more spiritual, more admired, more convincing. But awakening is the crack. It is the moment something interrupts the reflection and reveals that the self you were protecting may have been the room you were trapped inside. Now picture a second story. A woman walks through a marketplace carrying a sealed jar. She has carried it since childhood, told by everyone around her that inside the jar is her worth. If the jar is full, she is lovable. If it is empty, she is nothing. So she spends her life begging the world to pour something into it. Praise from strangers, approval from family, desire from lovers, status from work, even spiritual validation from teachers and communities. Each time someone gives her a drop, she feels alive for a moment. Each time someone refuses, she feels herself disappearing. But one evening, after years of exhaustion, she sits alone at the edge of the marketplace. The noise fades, the sellers close their stalls, the lamps burn low. In that silence, she finally opens the jar. It is empty, and at first, this seems like the tragedy she has feared her entire life. But as she holds it under the night sky, she notices something strange. The emptiness inside the jar is not dead. It is spacious. It is clear. It is capable of holding moonlight. It is capable of holding the sound of the wind. It is capable of holding everything without becoming any of it. She laughs, not because the world has finally filled her, but because she sees the mistake. Her worth was never the liquid inside the jar. Her worth was the space itself. This is the hidden teaching beneath so much human suffering. You were trained to chase content because you forgot the container. You chased thoughts, emotions, achievements, identities, relationships, and mystical experiences, believing that one final thing would complete you. But awakening whispers something more radical. You are not completed by what passes through you. You are the awareness in which everything appears and disappears. The jar does not become sacred because someone pours gold into it. It was sacred before it held anything at all. But pause here, because this is where the story turns sharper. What if the parts of your life you call delays were actually interruptions designed to crack the mirror? What if the rejection you cursed was the hand that stopped you from worshipping the marketplace? What if the silence you feared was not abandonment, but the first honest room you had entered in years? There is another image. A king sits on a throne in a dark hall. Around him stand servants holding scrolls. Each scroll contains a command. Defend yourself, impress them, hide your weakness, win approval, fear the future, punish the past, never be ordinary, never be unseen. The king believes he rules the kingdom, but every command he follows was written by someone else long ago. His parents wrote some, his culture wrote some, his shame wrote some, his heartbreak wrote some, his fear of death wrote the oldest scroll of all. Every morning, the servants read and the king obeys. Then one night, during a storm, a child enters the hall. The child does not bow. The child does not argue. The child simply asks, "Majesty, did you write any of these?" The question echoes through the chamber like thunder. The servants freeze. The king looks down at the scrolls for the first time, not as laws, but as paper. He realizes he has spent a lifetime calling obedience personality. He has called fear wisdom. He has called control love. He has called performance identity. Slowly, he rises from the throne, takes the oldest scroll in his hands, and holds it over the candle flame, not because he hates the past, but because he no longer agrees to be ruled by it. This is why awakening is not soft. It may make you more compassionate, but it also makes you less available for inner tyranny. It asks you to notice which voices inside you are truly yours and which are inherited ghosts wearing your name. It asks you to stop treating every mental command as sacred. It asks you to become honest enough to say, This fear exists in me, but it is not my master. This wound shaped me, but it is not my throne. This identity protected me once, but it is not the whole kingdom. And then comes the deepest symbol of all, the ocean and the wave. A wave rises and says, I am separate. It compares itself to other waves. It fears the shore. It is proud when it grows tall, and ashamed when it collapses. It believes birth is the moment it rises, and death is the moment it falls. But beneath all its movement, the wave has never been other than ocean. Its form changes, its height changes, its name changes, its direction changes, but its essence remains water. This is not a theory to decorate the mind. It is a mirror held to your immediate life, the version of you who is worried about being late, misunderstood, unseen, unsuccessful, unworthy, or left behind, is the wave, real, moving, emotionally intense, but not separate from the deeper field of awareness beneath it. Awakening does not destroy the wave. It simply ends the wave's amnesia. You continue to live, choose, work, love, and grieve. But something inside no longer believes the surface is the whole ocean. And once you see this, even slightly, the path changes. You stop asking life to constantly prove your existence. You stop chasing every reflection. You stop begging the marketplace to fill the jar. You stop obeying scrolls you never wrote. And somewhere behind the noise, behind the costume, behind the old panic of being human, the ocean begins to remember itself through you. But pause here, because this is the part where many viewers unconsciously leave, not by closing the video, but by turning this into another beautiful idea they never apply. So here is the uncomfortable question. What is the one pattern in your life that keeps returning, no matter how spiritual, intelligent, or self-aware you become? Maybe it is the same kind of relationship, wearing a different face. Maybe it is the same fear appearing inside every opportunity. Maybe it is the same anger, the same avoidance, the same craving, the same need to be understood by people who have no intention of understanding you. And every time it returns, you may call it bad luck, destiny, karma, energy, timing, or other people's behavior. But awakening asks something sharper. It asks whether life is repeating the lesson because the deeper self is still waiting for you to stop negotiating with the pattern. This is where spiritual language must become action, because a person can speak beautifully about consciousness and still be completely controlled by one text message. A person can talk about divine timing and still panic when someone withdraws attention. A person can study ancient wisdom and still betray their own truth to be liked by people they do not even respect. The proof of awakening is not how mystical your words sound when life is calm. The proof is what happens inside you when the old trigger knocks on the door and asks to become your master again. Now the question becomes unavoidable. If awakening is not an escape from life, then what does it look like when the phone rings, when the bill is due, when someone disrespects you, when the old wound is touched, when the room is silent and there is no mystical music playing in the background? This is where many people lose the path, because they imagine awakening must feel like floating above the human world. But the real test is not whether you can feel peaceful while meditating in a quiet room. The real test is whether you can remain honest when your nervous system wants to become the old character again. Picture this clearly. It is late at night. The room is dark, except for the blue light of your phone. You are staring at a message that has not been answered. The old story begins to rise. Maybe they are ignoring me. Maybe I said too much. Maybe I am not important. Maybe I always lose people. Within seconds, the body starts obeying a reality that has not even been proven. The chest tightens, the breath shortens, the mind begins building a courtroom, gathering evidence from years ago, calling old ghosts to testify against the present moment. This is how illusion enters ordinary life, not as a demon, not as a dramatic spiritual attack, but as an interpretation believed too quickly. Awakening in that moment is not floating above the body, it is staying with the body before the story possesses it. It is feeling the tightness without becoming the accusation. It is watching the mind reach for an old wound and saying quietly, "I see what you are doing." That one sentence can interrupt years of unconscious suffering, not because it magically solves the situation, but because it returns you to the place where choice is possible, and choice is sacred. Not the loud kind of choice people announce online, but the quiet, inner choice not to abandon yourself just because an old fear has become loud. The choice not to turn uncertainty into self-punishment. The choice not to chase, not to collapse, not to perform, not to beg reality to prove your worth through someone else's attention. In that small human moment, sitting alone with a glowing phone in your hand, awakening becomes more than a concept. It becomes the first breath of freedom. In your relationships, this changes everything. You begin to notice how often people are not speaking to each other, but to ghosts from their past. A partner asks a simple question, and suddenly, the abandoned child inside, someone hears accusation. A friend takes too long to reply, and suddenly, the old wound hears rejection. A parent gives advice, and suddenly, the buried teenager hears control. The conversation on the surface may be small, but beneath it, entire histories are colliding. Awakening does not make you emotionless, it makes you more precise. You stop blaming the present for every pain awakened by the past. This does not mean you tolerate disrespect or abandon boundaries in the name of being spiritual. That is not awakening. That is self-erasure wearing a halo. Real awakening makes your compassion cleaner because it is no longer desperate. You can understand someone's pain without volunteering to be harmed by it. You can forgive internally without reopening the door externally. You can love someone and still refuse to participate in the version of reality where your peace must be sacrificed to keep their chaos alive. This is one of the most practical signs of awakening. Your heart becomes softer, but your boundaries become clearer. In work, awakening changes the source of your ambition. Before, you may have chased success to repair an old emptiness. You may have wanted money to prove you were not powerless, attention to prove you were not invisible, achievement to prove you were not ordinary. But the hunger that comes from lack is never satisfied for long. It eats the reward and immediately asks for another. Awakening does not mean you stop creating, building, earning, or pursuing excellence. It means the throne inside you changes rulers. You no longer build your life as a monument to insecurity. You build because life is asking to move through you with intelligence, discipline, and clarity. And here is the reset question most people avoid. What if your greatest distraction is not social media, not money, not desire, not even fear, but the identity you are trying to maintain? Because maintaining a false self is exhausting. You must remember what image to protect. You must hide the parts that do not match the costume. You must perform confidence when you feel afraid, spiritual depth when you feel confused, independence when you secretly long to be held, strength when you are tired of carrying everything alone. Day after day, the mask demands energy, and then you wonder why you feel drained, why silence feels threatening, why rest feels like guilt. It is not only the world exhausting you, it is the constant labor of pretending to be smaller, harder, colder, or more certain than you truly are. Awakening, in practical terms, is the return of stolen energy. Every time you stop lying to yourself, energy returns. Every time you stop arguing with reality and begin responding to it, energy returns. Every time you stop feeding a thought that only exists to reopen an old wound, energy returns. Every time you choose presence over performance, energy returns. This is not fantasy. Anyone who has lived a lie knows how heavy it feels. Anyone who has finally told the truth knows the strange lightness that follows, even when the truth is painful. Your daily life becomes the temple. Washing dishes becomes a chance to notice impatience. Driving becomes a chance to observe aggression before it takes the wheel. Waiting in line becomes a mirror for entitlement. Being criticized becomes a doorway into humility. Being ignored becomes a test of whether your existence depends on being seen. Being alone becomes the great initiation, because alone is where the false self loses its audience. And slowly, you stop waiting for a perfect spiritual moment. You stop postponing awakening until you have the right teacher, the right book, the right retreat, the right sign, the right dream, the right cosmic confirmation. You begin where you are, in the body you have, in the room you are sitting in the conversation you are avoiding, in the apology you have delayed, in the boundary you know you need to set, in the habit that keeps draining your life force while promising comfort. This is where awakening becomes personal action, not loud action, not action designed to impress the spiritual marketplace, but the action that proves you are no longer asleep inside the same old pattern. You pause before reacting. You tell the truth sooner. You protect your attention like sacred fire. You stop confusing intensity with love. You stop calling fear intuition without examining it. You stop asking the world to confirm what you have not yet been willing to recognize within yourself. And when this begins to happen, reality shifts in the only way that truly matters. The outer world may not instantly rearrange itself into your preferred dream, but your way of meeting it transforms. The same insult no longer owns you. The same silence no longer destroys you. The same temptation no longer hypnotizes you. The same fear no longer sits on the throne. You still walk through the world of bills, bodies, messages, memories, and unfinished responsibilities, but now there is a hidden flame behind your eyes. You are not escaping life. You are finally entering it awake. And now we return to the door, the same door that seemed locked at the beginning, the same door the seeker stood before with tired hands, searching for the right key, the right teaching, the right sign, the right awakening experience that would finally prove the journey was real. But after walking through the mirrors, the marketplace, the throne room, the ocean, the relationships, the reactions, the wounds, and the ordinary rooms of daily life, something has become clear. The door was never guarding the truth from you. It was guarding the false self from disappearing. This is the strange mercy of awakening. It does not always give you what you wanted. It gives you the sight to understand why you wanted it. It does not always remove pain instantly. It reveals the identity that was built around pain. It does not always change the world overnight. It changes the one who meets the world. And when the one who meets the world is no longer hypnotized by every thought, every wound, every fear, and every inherited command, reality itself begins to feel different, not because you have escaped the human experience, but because you are no longer trapped inside the smallest interpretation of it. You do not awaken by becoming untouchable. You awaken by becoming intimate with what is true. You stop running from your own silence. You stop decorating your confusion with spiritual language. You stop using pain as proof that you are separate from life. You stop waiting for some future version of yourself to arrive and rescue you from the present moment. The rescue was never coming from the future. The rescue was hidden inside the awareness that is here now, reading these words, listening beneath them, recognizing something it cannot fully explain. Maybe this is why awakening feels less like learning and more like remembering, a memory not stored in the brain, but in the deep architecture of being, a memory older than your name, older than your ambitions, older than the first mask you wore to be accepted. It is the quiet recognition that beneath the changing weather of your life, something has remained. It watched you fail and did not disappear. It watched you succeed and did not become larger. It watched you grieve, desire, pretend, chase, collapse, rebuild, and begin again. It was there before you called yourself broken. It will be there after every story you are defending has turned to dust. This does not make life meaningless. It makes life sacred in a different way. If you are not merely the mask, then every moment becomes a place where truth can return. A difficult conversation is no longer just conflict. It is a doorway into honesty. A lonely night is no longer just absence. It is a chamber where you can finally hear what your distractions were drowning out. A failure is no longer just humiliation. It is a crack in the identity that thought it needed perfection to deserve existence. Even fear becomes a messenger, not a master. Even grief becomes an ocean, not a grave. And perhaps the final shock is this: awakening does not make you less human. It makes you more fully human, because you no longer need to use being human as a prison sentence. You can feel deeply without drowning. You can love without begging to be completed. You can build without worshipping achievement. You can rest without guilt. You can walk away without hatred. You can stand still without needing the world to clap for your stillness. You can be ordinary without feeling abandoned by the divine. The ancient flame was never asking you to become special. It was asking you to become sincere. So when this video ends, do not rush back into the same dream unchanged. Do not let this become another beautiful sound that disappears into the noise of your day. Let one question follow you like a candle through a dark hallway. Where am I still pretending to be asleep because waking up would require me to change? That question is the real doorway, not a doorway into fantasy, not a doorway into spiritual superiority, but a doorway into honesty. The kind of honesty that changes how you answer a message, how you speak when you are hurt, how you sit with silence, how you stop worshipping old pain, how you stop calling fear your intuition, and how you finally withdraw your energy from the false self that has been living your life in your name. Because awakening is not the moment you become divine, it is the moment you can no longer deny that something divine has been looking through your eyes the entire time. And if that truth disturbed something in you, do not ignore it. Stay close to this path. Subscribe, not because you need another teacher to follow, but because some part of you already recognizes the voice beneath the noise. Some part of you is ready to remember what the world trained you to forget. The door was never locked, the mask was never you, and the one who has been waiting on the other side was never separate from you at all.